What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I have got a video I am very excited about making. Marvel Champions is coming back, and yes, I do think it is fair for me to use the phrase Marvel Champions is coming back, because I haven't made a Marvel Champions video for a while. And it's not because I don't love Marvel Champions. You'll know I love me some Marvel Champions, but I made a release schedule 3 months ago. The last one I actually made, I think 4 months ago I showed you Rogue. That was the last time we had one. So I absolutely think that if it's been 4 months since we had a new set revealed, and we've all been sitting around thinking what is actually going on, I think it is fair to actually use the phrasing, yeah, it's back. It was gone. Not entirely sure why. But it's back now. We've got Next Evolution. It is a new box. It's another X-Men box, but it's really an X-Force box. Very much around, X-Force rather than your core goody-goody X-Men. And it is a real evolution of the game. It brings in character side schemes, and it looks awesome. It's also a day later than it should have been because I wasn't feeling particularly well yesterday, and this is a lot of information to get through, so I wanted to be on my best before we started. Good. So we've got 2 new heroes coming out here. We've got Cable and we've got Domino. Now, Cable comes in here. 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 recovery. The recovery's quite nice. 12 hit points, hand size of 5 or 6. Nothing amazing. You may include player side schemes from any aspect in your deck. You can mix aspects, but only for player side schemes. Soldier X, set up, search your deck and discard pile for a player side scheme and put it into play. Okay, player side schemes haven't been a thing so far. That's going to require some explanation. There's also a response on the hero side. After Cable defeats a side scheme, ready him. That's actually amazing because you can thwart to get rid of a side scheme to either help you or hinder your villain, while also then readying to be able to attack. That's kind of awesome. So, an example of this would be Techno-Virus Purge, a zero-cost side scheme. You pay to get your own side schemes out, although again, you get one for free at the start of the game. Characters other than Cable cannot remove threat from Techno-Virus Purge, but when it's in the victory display, it's got Victory 0. You don't gain any victory points, but it's there to say it goes into the victory display. You gain +1 thwart, +1 attack, +1 defense, and the psionic trait. So basically, they don't hinder you when they're out, other than, making you use your thwarting to get rid of it, but it helps you when it goes away, and that is very much the point here. We got Call for Backup. When defeated, each player searches their deck and discard pile for an ally and puts it into play. That is a 1 cost. Establish Perimeter. A 1 cost that when defeated gives each identity a tough status card, and you see where we're going here, ladies and gentlemen. These are worth defeating. Elsewhere in Cable, we got cards like Body Slide, a 0 cost card that lets you change form, and each other player may change to the form you're in. That is important, so if you change to hero, they've got to change to hero, they can't change to alter ego. Precognition, a 0 cost event. Let's just look at the top X cards of the encounter deck, where X is a number of side schemes in the victory display, and you may discard one of those cards and put the rest back in any order. Basically, what that means is you get to stack the encounter deck a little bit while getting rid of the worst one in there, and oh look, the more side schemes that you've put in the victory display, and that's generally where the hero side schemes go, the better this card gets. Would you look at that? Mind Scan, 2 cost event. Hero action thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme, but 1 additional threat from that scheme for each side scheme in the victory display. Again, boosted by defeating these side schemes. So not only do you get the explicit bonuses from defeating them, but you get all these little bonuses and these other cards as well. Telekinetic Blast. 3 cost event, deals 6 damage to an enemy, +1 for each side scheme in the victory display. Sounds good, right? Now we've also got Professor, a 1 cost support that you exhaust. It's an alter ego action, I should say. And you can either draw a card or search your deck and discard pile for a player side scheme and add it to your hand. The vast majority of the time, this is going to be searching for side schemes, but sometimes you're going to be desperate for something else, in which case I get drawing a card and crossing your fingers. But then we've got Forced Amnesia. After a non-permanent side scheme is defeated, you add Forced Amnesia and that side scheme to the victory display. Now, we've seen that player side schemes go into the victory display as normal. This can put the villain side schemes into the victory display. That's a good thing. Now, Cable comes out the box as a leadership character, and what we've got here is things like Caliban, 1 thwart, 2 attack. After Caliban enters play, discard cards from the top of your deck until either an X-Factor, X-Force, or X-Men ally is discarded. Whack it into your hand. Phantom X, and after Phantom X enters play, you search your deck and discard pile for Eva and put it into play. And Eva's a 0-cost support with an action that lets you either remove a threat from a scheme, deal a damage to an enemy, or heal a damage from Phantom X, bearing in mind, of course, Phantom X takes consequential damage like pretty much every ally does when they attack or thwart. Mission Planning is a 2-cost event that can only be played if there is at least one side scheme in the victory display, but it says that until the end of the phase, allies you control do not take consequential damage. We've seen a lot of Marvel Champions cards at this stage. Few of them make me go, ooh, but this one actually did. Uncanny X-Force, a support that if each of your characters has the X-Force trait, then each ally you control gets +1 thwart and takes -1 consequential damage after thwarting a side scheme. Basically, they're really good at taking out side schemes, which you should see by now. Oh, and it's bringing in Deadpool. It's Deadpool. And Deadpool's actually amazing. 2 thwart or attack, taking 1 damage each time. When Deadpool would be defeated specifically by consequential damage, you heal him back up to 3 health. But you add an acceleration token to the main scheme, which is really bad. But there are going to be games where you can basically go nuts with Deadpool towards the end of the game. The acceleration token isn't really going to come into play too much, and you are going to be able to win with Deadpool. This is a really good ally. Now, the other hero we've got here is Nina Furman, or Domino. We've got recovery of 3, 9 hit points, which is low because kind of regular human, 6 hand size, and to be fair, that's standard. Action, choose a card in your hand, swap that card with the top card of your discard pile. Plan this properly and you can reuse your best cards over and over again. Now, she's bad at thwarting with 1, but really good at defending with 3. But when counting resources on cards discarded from the top of your deck, obviously that's going to be very relevant. Any type is counted twice. And as we go through the Domino cards, pay attention, they're like all any type. And there's an action that lets you choose a card in your hand and swap that card with the top card of your deck. Less good than the Alter Ego, but still pretty cool. And then we got things like the signature ally, Diamondback. You exhaust Diamondback, deal a damage to her, discard the top card of your deck, and deal 1 damage to each enemy for each resource icon discarded this way. But of course, if you double it up with Domino here, it's actually 2 to all of them. Good Workout, a 2-cost event, deal 4 damage to an enemy and discard the top card of your deck. For each resource icon discarded this way, deal an additional damage to that enemy. Often it's going to be 2. Luck Be a Lady lets you discard for 1 cost the top card of your deck, count the resources, and if you've got a lightning energy, deal 2 damage, science, remove 2 threat, physical, deal 3 damage, and any type, choose one of the above. But if it's one of the many Domino cards within any type, you get to choose any one of the above twice. But it doesn't have to be the same one. It could be any one of them twice or any 2 of them once each. It's kind of amazing. So yeah, that could be good. We got Domino's Pistol. Now this is a restricted card because it's very good. 2-cost upgrade. You exhaust Domino's Pistol and choose an enemy and discard the top card of your deck. Deal 1 damage to that enemy for each resource icon discarded this way. And it gets range, which means it goes through retaliation, which is amazing. One important thing to point out, it's often gonna be doubled. Probability Field, a 2-cost upgrade. When you use a basic power, discard the top card of your deck. Get +1 to that power for each resource icon discarded this way. It's often gonna be doubled. Pip the Pug, a 1-cost adorable support card. Alter Ego action, exhaust Pip the Pug, put a Domino or Posse card from your discard pile on top of your deck. And then remember you've got the hero action which lets you swap a card in your hand with it. So you can put this on top of your deck, switch to hero, get the card back in your hand, job's a good 'un. We've got a resource jackpot, which is all 3 types of resources, but if it is discarded from the top of your deck, which obviously is going to be an issue, we've seen a lot of cards that discard from the top of your deck, shuffle it back into your deck. Bearing in mind, if this is discarded with like Luck Be a Lady, you get all 3 things, and then this resource goes back into your deck. Now, Domino comes out the deck as a Justice card. We got things like Wolfsbane, double thwart is awesome. After Wolfsbane thwarts, name a card type and discard the top card of your deck. If you got it right, add it to your hand. Team Investigation, a 2-cost event card with Alliance, means you can pay the cost as a group, and it lets you remove 3 threat per person from a side scheme. Take out the cards as a player side scheme, victory 0, and when defeated, each player may discard, you just full on get rid of them, a non-elite minion from play. Overwatch is a 0-cost upgrade, attached to a scheme, max 1 per player. When any amount of threat is removed from the attached scheme by a thwart, discard this card and remove an equal amount of threat from a different scheme. Bearing in mind that's a 0-cost upgrade, that's kind of nuts. We've then got Outlaw, who has toughness, and when Outlaw attacks, discard the top card of your deck. Get +1 attack for each resource icon discarded this way. Bearing in mind it's often going to be at least 2. White Fox, after White Fox is discarded from the top of your deck, put her into play under your control, which again is a ridiculous card, because how many times have I showed you cards, and I've not shown you all of them, from Domino's deck that let you discard a card from the top of your deck? This is nuts. And then we got the Posse, 1 per deck, play only if you control at least 3 characters with the Posse trait, but then you heal 1 damage from each Posse character and ready them, which honestly sounds kind of amazing if you can get it rolling. So the heroes look amazing here, but what have we got in terms of schemes? Well, it's all built around Hope Summers, and if you've read the comics at all, you'll know that when it comes to mutants, Hope Summers is pretty gosh darned important. So the first scenario here we've got then is Morlock Siege, where you're protecting Morlock against Marauders. So you've got a bunch of random Marauders, Arclight, 1 scheme, 1 attack, 10 hit points, and basically all of them make you do something or they get extra attack. So Arclight, you confuse a character or she gets +2 attack. Chimeras, 1 scheme, 1 attack, 11 hit points, and you spend a science resource or they get +2 attack. Grey Crow's got 1 scheme, 1 attack, 9 hit points, and you either discard the highest cost card you control, or Grey Crow gets +X attack for the attack, where X is the printed cost of the highest cost card you control, which is especially mean. And they've not been properly revealed, but we can see them on a collage. Vertigo's got 2 schemes, 0 attack, but you either stun a character you control, or they get +2 attack. And Blockbuster, 0 scheme, 2 attack, but it gets a tough status card, or +2 attack. Your choice. Neither choice is particularly good. Now, Morlock is a 1 thwart, 1 attack, 5 health, victory -1, ouch, ally. Does not count to your ally limit. Card abilities cannot be removed. And there is a forced interrupt. When an enemy attacks you, it attacks the Morlock you control instead. That's not good, ladies and gentlemen, because if you lose Morlock, you lose. The scheme here is Mutant Massacre. Action, exhaust a Morlock ally. Shuffle Hide from the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. If there are 3 villains under routed, the player wins a game. This will all make more sense in a minute. If this stage is completed, or there are no Morlock allies in play, the players lose the game. Keep Morlock alive. Now, Routed is an environment where after the villain is defeated, because you're fighting random Marauders as you go, 1 at a time, you discard each minion that shares a title with the top villain of the title deck. That villain is in play. The villain activates against each other player in player order. So you're defeating them and putting them under Routed, but then they keep getting stronger. Bolstered by Wrath attaches to the villain. You exhaust a character you control and spend X resources of any type, where X is the number of villains under Routed to discard it. If you don't, they get +1 scheme and +1 attack. But of course, the more villains under Routed, the harder it is to get rid of. Push to the limit attaches to the villain. If there's 1 villain under Routed, they gain steady. It takes 2 confused or stun counters to confuse or stun them. But if there are 2, they gain Stalwart, which means they cannot be confused or stunned. But luckily it only works once and they get +1 attack. Hide, when revealed, you give a Morlock ally a tough status card, which is kind of important, and as a boost it gives Morlock a tough status card, but it does also give the villain an additional boost card. And then to go back to Mutant Massacre quickly, if there are 3 villains underrouted, you win, and that's kind of good, but there is an action that lets you exhaust Morlock to go and grab Hyde and pop it back into the encounter deck to try and get it again. Yay, I suppose. Now, the second scenario is actually still against Marauders, but it's a little bit different. It's not quite the same. So we have Hope's Captor. Now, this is an attachment. When the villain would attack you, if a Marauder minion is engaged with you, the villain schemes instead. Oh yeah, I should mention, all the Marauders that aren't actually villains here come back as minions instead. And when the villain would be defeated, you reset the attacked villain's hit points to its printed hit point, flip this card. Because now it's permanent. The villain gets +6 hit points, +1 scheme, +1 attack, advance the main scheme to stage 2A, and when the villain would attack you, if a Marauder minion is engaged, the villain schemes instead. And we all know how annoying it can be when you're not prepared for a scheme. The main scheme here is escaping with Hope. Each Marauder minion gains Guard and Steady. Guard, remember, means you can't attack the villain, you got to attack them. In Expert mode, the villain gains Steady. If the villain is defeated, you win. If the stage is completed, you lose. And then we get to Juggernaut. Now, the Unstoppable Juggernaut is the scheme here. When the scheme will be completed, instead, do each of the following. Remove all threat. If Juggernaut exposes in play, flip it. Place 1 momentum counter on Juggernaut. Juggernaut attacks each player in player order, even if they're in alter ego form. Yeah, he's going to win by knocking you out, ladies and gentlemen. It's Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut 1 scheme 2 attack, but you gain an attack for each momentum counter here. Bearing in mind, gains 1 every time the scheme runs out. When revealed, you place a momentum counter and give Juggernaut a tough status card. And then you've got Juggernaut's Helmet. Juggernaut gains Stalwart, can't be confused or stunned, and Overkill, so the usual trick of guarding with minions so that they can't hit you doesn't work because it will just go through them and hit you anyway. But you can spend 3 resources of the same type, remove each momentum counter from Juggernaut and flip it to Juggernaut Exposed, which you're going to want to do. Because Juggernaut then takes 1 additional damage from each card of a printed science resource, and after Juggernaut schemes, place a momentum counter on Juggernaut and flip it. Get Juggernaut into Exposed. Do not let Juggernaut scheme. Now, Hope Summers comes in as an ally here. The first player controls Hope Summers, doesn't count towards your ally limit, but her base thwart and base attack are the same as that of your hero. If she leaves the game, you lose. Maybe don't fall for that. There's also Captive Hope, the side scheme. She can't be readied, and when revealed, exhausted. Yeah, this is a side scheme you want to get out. You want to get rid of it, I mean. If it comes out, you want to get it gone. Now, you then move on to fight Mr. Sinister, who has a force response. After a status card is placed on Mr. Sinister, place 1 threat on the main scheme. The card designers know we like using statuses to take out villains, and they are coming after us for it. Now, we got Flight and Attachment that gives +1 attack and the aerial trait, which is kind of annoying. Oh, and Overkill. Super Strength that you attach to the villain gains permanent, and you gain Brute and Steady, which is kind of annoying. And we've got Telepathy, where you gain a psionic trait and retaliate 1. You will notice they all start on here. So, whereas with Juggernaut, it's just, I'm going to come after you, look how strong I am. Here, it's, look how beefed up I get and how quickly. We've then got the horrendous treachery card, Genetic Mastery. When revealed, if you got the traits on Mr. Sinister, the following things happen. Aerial, take 2 indirect damage. Brute, exhaust your identity. Psionic, place 2 threat on the main scheme. Bearing in mind, Mr. Sinister starts with all of those things. That's annoying. And then we finish off with Stryfe. And yeah, the further we get in, the less we're told about the schemes, but we are at least getting the general outline of how they work. Now, when Stryfe's attacking you, he gains +X attack, where X is a number of cards of the most common type in your hand. So that's kind of your ally event. Whatever you got the most of, that's what his attack is. We've got the side scheme Strife's Grasp, permanent, Hinder 6, that's horrendous. Hope Summers can attack only Stryfe and can thwart only this scheme. But after Stryfe is defeated, all the last threat is removed from this scheme. Flip this card, reveal Living Bomb, and place any threat tier on Living Bomb. Living Bomb says Stryfe cannot be defeated, and when revealed you advance the main scheme to stage 2A. This effect cannot be cancelled. Ouch. So we've got Uncontrollable Power. This is, after resolving step 1 of the villain phase, each player places X threat, where X is the number of cards of the most common type in their hand. Each player may discard 1 card from their hand before calculating the value. So you can basically hurt your hand in order to try and hurt this effect a little bit. And then finally, left to your fate, give Stryfe Stalwart, and each identity gets +2 hand size. Yay! But it increases the resource cost to play each card by 1, and bearing in mind I've already shown you a couple Stryfe cards that depend on the most common type of card in your hand, so actually having a large hand size is helping out Stryfe here, which is actually kind of annoying. This is not benevolent. Stryfe looks nails. Hey ho. We were also given a little bit of a tease. There are going to be 4 hero packs in the X-Force block, so to speak. Look, one of them clearly X-23, one of them clearly Deadpool. No one can really agree on the others, so I'm just not guessing, alright? I'm not doing it. You can't make me. But hey, you can guess in the comments. There were 61 new cards here, not including the ones I showed you in collages. This was a lot to get to. This was a huge reveal. And yeah, after 4 months of silence, feels pretty gosh darn good to have Marvel Champions back in our lives again now, doesn't it? Right, there we go. Now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me how excited you are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about, well, a whole bunch of card games, including Marvel Champions. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun things. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.